Hey, Bruce here, the 5-Minute Handyman. Well, I am building a countertop and I'm ready to put the tiles on. I've got some of them on ready and I want to show you how I go about doing this. These are large format tiles. They're 2 foot by 2 foot, and I've got a section to do by the sink, so let me show you some of the hardware and we'll talk about it. I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel so you can see other home improvement projects and tips and tricks on how to do different things. Let me show you where we're at. So I have the countertop, and this is a marble countertop, and I'm using these leveling clips so that it levels the top edge of the surface of the tiles. And we've got a full 2x2 here, another full 2x2 is about 11 inches here. The range, and we've got a full 2x2, 2x2, and then we've got this cut piece here. And what I did was I pre-cut all the pieces, laid them out, and I made some little markings on the wall where the tiles ended so that I knew when I put the thin set down, I knew exactly where the edges of the tiles were. I also have a little gauge that I made. It's a piece of wood with some marking on it, and that way I can tell, make sure that I have the right overhang, because when I put the bullnose tile on the front, I need to have a uniform spacing between the bullnose and where my drawer front is. So we're using this gauge to make that happen. I also had to put in a small shim because I needed to make sure that the surface was going to be level all the way across, and there was a little bit of a dip right over here, and so I hammer this in, and I think that's pretty good. All right, so here we are. I've got some thin set mixed up here. I've got some of it on the top here. Got the tile, this one tile, and my second tile here. Now this one, you'll notice, is upside down because I'm going to put some thin set on the back of it so that it helps wet nicely to the ribs that I'm going to apply on the countertop surface. So let me show you what I mean by that. And so this piece is going to go here. I'm going to turn it over because I'm going to need to put some thin set on the back of this as well. And so what I'm going to do is I first need to take the thin set and make sure it wets very nicely to the cement board. I can't just take this and draw my lines because I won't get good coverage and good adhesion. So what I do is I take the smooth edge and make sure that the thin set sticks to all of the cement board. This does not have to be a pretty process because I'm going to go back and put more thin set on in order to draw my ribs. And the reason we use a notch trowel and we just don't put it on like this and put our tiles down is so that we can compress it down and it'll self-level out, and we get a nice uniform surface. Alright, so what we're going to do is just make sure we get all the thin set evenly spread here. Okay, now I don't have enough here to draw my lines, and what happens if you don't have enough thin set is you end up getting these broken ribs, and that means that you need to add more thin set because you want them all nice and full like this. Alright, so let me show you what that looks like. We'll get some more thin set up here. And I've got some videos on how to mix thin set and to the right consistency, and so you can watch those and see exactly what to do with mixing your thin set material. Okay, so when I want to spread this out, I can go ahead and do this kind of like a window cleaner does their windows, you know, where they take the soapy stuff and they go ahead and they go back and forth, and the goal is to get the material spread all over, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll clean it up. Alright, so I'm going to want to make sure that I go only in one direction when I'm ready to do my final rib definition. Okay, but first we want to make sure we get it nice and covered. And we're going to make sure we don't have any of those broken ribs. Okay, so it looks like I've got enough thin set here. And so what I'll do is I'll run my first line. Now I've got all kinds of gookies on this corner here, so I'm going to just take and wipe that off, so that when I come back and do my next line, I'm not going to leave a trail of pieces. So see, I've got my gookies here. If I see these lumps, I don't want those lumps. I want it nice and uniform. So I'm going to wipe off this corner, both sides, come back and do that again. Okay, sometimes we get some other goops. That's what, we just go ahead and keep moving it up until we get nice and uniform. And that's really the key in doing tiling, is you need to have a good base of thin set so that your tiles stick well. Now I could just take my tile, this tile, and put it right on top of here. But if I do that, what's going to happen is I might get some sections that are not going to wet well to the thin set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tile and I'm going to add some more thin set to it. I don't need a huge amount, but I want to put enough on here, and I'm going to take the straight part of the trowel and we're going to come about a quarter to a half inch from the edge. It's not super critical to go all the way to the very, very edge. I've got to do plenty of support, and then when I do my grouting on the edge, that's also going to squeeze down in and provide some additional contact support for it as well. Alright, so the goal here is just to make sure that the back of the tile is fully covered, so that when I lay it on top of these ribs, this is going to immediately bond 100% to all of the thin set that's over there. If you don't do that, what's going to happen is, if you take a piece of wood or piece of metal or something, and you tap on your tile, if you hear a hollow sound, that means that you have a void, or you've got a pocket of air where the tile is not bonded correctly to the substrate, whether it's a floor, whether it's a wall. So you can check up on your contractor, you can check up on yourself to see how well you did when you prepared your floor, your wall, your tiles, countertop, whatever it is. Okay, so I've got this set, I've got this piece set, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to set it here, and then I'm going to back butter the section that's going to go in the corner. Alright, so let's see if I can flip this over. These are pretty heavy tiles. Again, this is marble, and there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to set that here right now, and when I get this second piece of marble ready to go with back buttering. Then I'm going to move that piece around to make sure I got the right kind of spacing and everything. So the thin set that I'm using is Ardex brand. It's a German product, and I like it a lot because it has a very uniform grit or sand that's part of the thin set material. And it has about a 2.5 hour to 3 hour pot life, which means I don't have to go crazy in getting all my thin set out. I can mix up a pretty good sized batch and work on getting my tiles put together. But typically I'll go ahead and pre-cut all my tiles in a section, not for the whole, like if I'm doing a bathroom, not the whole bathroom, but like if I'm doing a back wall of a shower, I'll pre-cut those, and then when I'm ready to put them up, I just go ahead and mix up the thin set and then put them up, and works very well. All right, so here we go. This piece is, again, just sitting here. Let me flip this one over, and I'm going to set it in place. I want to try to not drop it in place. I want to set it. Now, here's my gap. Okay, these are obviously not in the exact right spot yet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my leveling clips, and the space that I'm using for each of my joints is just the thickness of the wire that's in here. And so I'm going to take and put this, I'll spin this up here. Okay, when it's this way, then the T at the bottom is grabbing on both sections of the bottom of the tile. Okay, so we can put this in, and I'm doing 4 of these per section. All right, so now what I need to do is I need to pull these together and keep track of. See my line here that I put? So I got to just keep track of that line. And what I will do is get something thin that I can go ahead, and pull this over to narrow the gap. Okay. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jockey these pieces around in order to try to get them to line up with the markings that I have on my wall. Alright, so I've got this one lined up, I've got this one lined up here, and so now what I do is take my block that has this gauge on it, and alright, see, so I am not in the right spot here. So what I need to do is I need to pull this away from the wall a little bit so that I have the right kind of overhang in the front. I'm getting closer. So this is pretty good here. That's not bad there either. Okay, so I just need to bring this edge out a little bit. Alright, so when I bring this edge out, I got to be careful not to separate my joint back here too much. And so what we'll do is just kind of play around with it a little bit. I don't have to be super crazy about doing this very, very, very fast. I don't want to take too much time to do it, but I do want to make sure that I get it correct. And what I can do to check this is I can take one of these and put it in and see if there's any play in the joint, and just make sure that my tiles are pulled over all the way. Make sure that this edge lines up, and then go ahead and tighten these up. And what this does is it brings the top surface flush with each other, both pieces. And that's how we make sure we don't have any lips. So that when I put my grout in here, and I'm going to use an unsanded grout, and what that will do is it will give me a nice smooth surface, just like the smoothness of my marble. Okay, so I think this looks pretty good. We have our marking on the wall there is good. This one is good as well. We have a little bit of a space here, which is what I had planned. This front edge is straight. Okay, I can go ahead and check with my gauge, make sure that pencil line is where it needs to be. Perfect. Alright, so that's the process that I would use to do this, and I've got some small skinny strips I'm going to put in between here so that when I drop my sink on, I'll be able to get a nice good seal all the way around. So that's the process that we'd use in order to install tiles on a countertop, and I think this is coming out quite nice. So thanks for watching. Love to have you subscribe to my channel so you can see all different kinds of homeowner improvements and handyman activities and such. But I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks. Have a great day.